back to another episode of Spill It with Morg. I have a very special guest with me today. It is one of my very best friends, Daley.
Hi.
Some of you know her, and so I'm really excited to have her on today. I will warn you, this will probably be a long one, so you may want to either power it out or listen in some parts, whatever works best for you. But I just know that whenever we get to talking, we get to talking.
We're not exactly concise
no,
about anything.
Not at all. And I don't want people to be concise when they're on here. I want people to share everything. So just be prepared. But what are we drinking?
We are drinking Moscow Mules.
Yeah.
With vodka.
With vodka.
Apparently. We always drink vodka. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Tito's, the good stuff. Oh, we should have cheers.
We should have.
Yeah, okay. We have to do down up.
Yep.
Tastes like summer.
It really does. I'm excited that you chose this one because I've been wanting one for a while and I thought it sounded delicious. So
it just reminds me of sitting out on like the back patio of Quaffon in the summer, like listening to music. It's the whole thing.
It's perfect. And I'm super excited to be having one. But it was real simple. We just did Tito's vodka, we did ginger beer, and we did some lime, and it tastes pretty good. So nothing fancy.
Whiskey's definitely my go-to, but I wasn't going to do that to you.
No.
Yeah, I was like, she's not here for that at all.
Yeah, if anyone knows so far, I am not a whiskey girl. So I'm trying. And I know that in future episodes, I will be having to have some. So
definitely.
But no, I'm glad you chose this one because it's very tasty.
And
she has the cute little mugs.
Yes. It turns out I have 6, so we can have a whole party. I had no idea until I started rummaging through my things to find these.
I love it.
And the straws.
Yeah.
I think they were wedding presents, now that I think of it, because our colors were like gold.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I got a lot of metallic gifts.
Yeah.
So I think that's where these came
fitting.
from.
No,
Plus one says Mr. and Mrs., so you know.
So that makes sense. Yes. You should have used your Mrs. one.
I thought it'd be funny if we had the Mr. and Mrs.
That would have been funny. I would have loved that. What are your favorite alcoholic beverages?
My go-to, honestly, gosh, this is going to sound crazy. My go-to, honestly, is just like whiskey or bourbon on the rocks. Like just like, or like one, I love like the big whiskey bourbon cubes, just like one of those with some on. Perfect. But if I'm getting a cocktail, an old fashioned. We had discussed too that Malibu in Bloomington used to have the Cardinal. It was called I swear it was called the Cardinal Smash.
Yeah.
And it was like mint and like something berry. I don't remember what it was, but I loved that one too.
Yeah.
And now they don't have it, so I have no idea what was in it. Or a martini, which you like.
Oh,
I was like,
I love a martini. They're so good. Do you like yours dirty, like with like the olive juice in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the best
for
kind
sure.
to have it. We're making Eric very happy.
Or like or the olives with like the blue cheese in them too.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, I'd say whiskey's number 1.
Yeah.
But
bourbon. You like red wine too, don't you?
I do, but I'll be honest, like I've gotten away from it a little bit in the past couple years. Well, let's be real. I went like a year and a half without drinking, as you know, because let's see, my last drink, and this was kind of like not really on purpose necessarily, but my last drink was May 2021, like the end of May 2021, when we were at a Cardinals game. We were at Busch Stadium, and I just got like some sort of craft beer, I think. I wasn't even like a Bud Light or anything. And then that's when we were not trying to have a baby. So I was like, I'm just not going to drink anything while we're trying for Niall. And then, and then I got pregnant. Didn't have anything, obviously, when I was pregnant. And then the postpartum period, it just, the whole, like, trying to calculate how to drink while breastfeeding. My first drink after that was this past November when we went to Uptown to dinner with everybody. And I got an old fashioned. It tasted delightful. But
man, I miss that.
But I started to think, I was like, gosh, when I was drinking, I was like, when's the last time I had alcohol? I was like, a year and a half ago, which is crazy because since, we were 21, since we turned 21, started drinking. That's the longest I've obviously ever gone without having any alcohol at all.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, when you think about it, it's just wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So she's definitely a bourbon girl, whiskey girl.
Yes.
Love that. And so is your husband. So you guys both enjoy that. Every time I come here, they offer me one. And I say yes, because I'm trying to become more along that style, but
Ryan will be so happy if you ever do.
I know. I'm trying so hard. I try all the time.
You've got to get it together by October.
I know. Yeah, because we're doing the Bourbon Trail.
Yep.
And I'm real excited for that.
It's gonna be really fun.
Even though I will go and I will be the best
My guess is they probably have options for people who don't like
I feel like they
bourbon.
do. Well, I'm still going to do
maybe
it.
wine or something. Yeah.
Oh, I'll still do it. I mean,
Good.
you have to go for the experience.
Yes.
That's just part of
Absolutely.
it. So. And I feel like maybe that will be the one that makes me like it. Maybe they'll give me tips and tricks like how to make it taste better.
Okay, well, here's what they do. When you do, this is from experience, when you do the tastings, they don't like tell you the price ranges of any of the things. So you have all these that you're tasting. You're like,
so I'm going to like the most expensive.
Exactly. Every time, like Eric and I did that, and we were like, oh, this one tastes. Izzy was with us too, and we're like, oh, this tastes great. It's our favorite one after several, and of course, it's like the one that's like $300, I think, a bottle. We're like, oh, that makes sense.
That's gonna be me for sure. I have a feeling.
But they don't tell you that till the end. They're like, yeah, go to the gift shop and go pick one up. And you're like, oh, all right.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How did we become friends? Do you even remember this? Because I was racking my brain trying to remember, and I'm like, I've just been friends with her almost like as long as I can really remember. Like she's just always been there.
Yeah. I mean, definitely first grade.
Yeah, it was when we were young.
Yeah, because I wasn't here in kindergarten. I didn't live in Bloomfield in kindergarten. I was in Bloomington. I went there. So first grade would have been when we met. But I don't remember.
We weren't even in the same class. I think we met at recess or lunch.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of. Yeah, it's not like a memory that I can think of, but I just know it was kind of instant. We were just like, oh, we're friends. We're friends. We've been friends ever since. And but I do remember, like, I moved away for the 4th grade.
That was a very tough time.
It was emotional, and because we were doing that thing up to that point where we spent like weekends with each other. Like we didn't have sleepovers. Like, oh, one night and your mom picks up. Like
they're the whole.
We're like Friday, Saturday. They're gonna take us to school on Monday. Literally. Like we were at each other's houses.
Yeah.
So that was a big adjustment when I moved to Bloomington for that 1 year. And I remember we decided we were gonna be pen pals.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
Do you remember that? But I don't know what.
Oh my gosh.
We must have seen a movie or something where they had pen pals. I don't remember, but we were convinced.
Literally we're 30 minutes away.
Yeah, we were like, we're gonna be pen pals. But my favorite part about it is we would write each other these like letters, and then we call each other immediately. Hey, I just sent you a letter.
I remember that now. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
We used to talk to them like on the house phones.
Yes.
Because I remember whenever we first got cell phones, I would have Daley's mom's house, Daley's dad's house, like saved on my phones. Like I knew like the house numbers too. Like it's so funny. So yeah, we became friends at a very young age, and we were together from that moment on, pretty much. Of course, we've had some hiccups as we've gone up and down, but I feel like that's just what happens when you're like sisters, you know.
Sure.
And that's like literally how I refer to you as, like you're like my sister. So I feel like we've always have found our way back to each other no matter what. And I vividly remember like growing up going on like on ice skating trips with you. Like we would always go to the rink for your birthday because it was in November.
Every single year, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I used to love that. And we'd have like pictures of like us with like being like Charlie's Angels. Like we would go all out. And I remember just staying up at your mom's house. You like watch The Notebook and like eat cookie dough. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
First circle moment, we went on that Notebook tour for my 25th birthday.
It really
in Charleston. That was like a full circle.
Because I actually watched it for the first time with you. Yeah. I'd never seen it before then. And I remember you introduced me. I was like, this is such a great movie.
I was like, this is going to influence the rest of my life.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And really, during that time, that was whenever like Laguna Beach and like the hills and MTV was like it. I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I can like hear all the music.
Yep, and like the waves.
That was how you discovered music too. Yeah. Because you remember it used to like pop up on the bottom what was playing.
Yep.
And then you'd go to your computer and have to buy it for 99 cents on Apple Music. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's just wild.
Or iTunes at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would spend hours on MySpace.
Hours.
Like on my computer, just hours and hours and hours. Like we were like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to this guy or I'm talking to this guy. And it was just.
Mine still said, or at the time when, I don't know even when there was a day that MySpace just died, but I know I never got on it again at one point. So if you can find it somehow, it'll still say Daley and Ryan. Remember that was a thing?
Yep,
I know that's so cringy. I know that's so cringy. But
no, I love it. I live for it.
Yeah, and it's probably like lots of hot pink and zebra.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Or like some like Avril Lavigne song or something. Definitely. Like as like the oh my gosh,
something
they used
moody.
To have like the profile songs. They need to bring that back.
Yeah.
Or like Instagram, somebody needs to do that because that was a smart move.
They need to take away. I'm glad that the top, what was it, top 5?
Oh yeah, that was.
Was it 5 or 3?
Very detrimental to people's health. I think it was like top 8.
8? Oh, okay.
It was a random number. Yeah. Like top 10, top 8, I think.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad that that's not a thing anymore because that was like not great for everyone's mental health.
No.
But yeah, here for the music. Here for like having your own, like finding your own background. We were all like into coding. Do you think like we were able to code?
We literally could have been like IT people. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like the editing pictures, like to the like our faces like were literally blurred.
Yes.
We edited them so much.
Right.
Like I just miss those days.
I miss the days too, a little bit of the fact that it was like you were shamelessly editing. Like it was clear that you were editing.
But everyone was doing it.
Everyone was doing it, but it was so, you could tell like, oh, you know, obviously that person's skin is not pink basically.
Right.
So
and not as like smooth.
Yeah, and you don't have peace signs just on the bottom of your pictures.
Or live, laugh, love.
But now you can't tell what's edited and what's not.
No, you can't. It's a little bit alarming. Kind of scary. I mean, I'm very guilty of using the filters.
No, and that's fine. Like filters are one thing, but and this is for people who have like, you know, millions and millions of followers,
and they're trying to like influence them in some way, and they're like super fake.
Yeah, you're like, that's not actually what they look like.
Right. Like that skin product actually doesn't work like that.
No.
That's just a filter.
No.
I feel like something I've always thought with Daley is that she always feels like home. You just feel like home in a way.
Oh, thanks.
Because it's like, I just remember growing up with you, and you know, that you just have always been there. Like I said, you're like my sisters. And it's just like, you've always been in my life.
That's what Ryan refers to you as. Like, he'll say something, he's like, oh, Morgan's like Daley's sister. Like he says it to other people, like, you know, Morgan's, she's like Daley's sister. It's always more than a friend. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's deeper than that. There's like a bond there that which you think is like a potentially like a whole horoscope thing. Like there's a connection there. Yes. Yeah, I was like, you think it has to do with that, which could be. But yeah, it's different. Like we fight like sisters. We love each other like sisters. We're real with each other like sisters. And that's kind of rare for people now. People get like jealous, and there's a lot of like weird undertones.
It's not healthy.
No.
And so I know that I have a healthy friendship with you, and I've always felt that way. So that's really good. But
I'm glad that I'm home to you. I want to be.
But yeah, moving into the zodiac signs. I didn't talk about that just briefly.
That was a good segue on my part.
Yeah, it was. It was great. So I'm a Taurus and she is a Scorpio. And on the chart itself, it basically says that we are sister signs. And either we end up hating each other, or we absolutely like are drawn and like love each other. And it's not even more like on a romantic level, obviously, but it's more like, you know, they always say like a deep friendship bond. And I've always thought that, I'm like, man, that's just so wild, because I feel like we really balance each other out. Like in my eyes, you're like the older sister who has her shit together. Like you really do. Like you got it like together. That, you do. At least that's the picture everyone's like. You got your shit together.
I try.
And meanwhile, I'm over here just acting like an absolute heathen sometimes. I mean, not like totally, but there's times I'm like, what are you doing, girl? I'm sure a lot of people think, what are you doing, girl?
I've just been about 40 years old inside. I've been about 40 years old since I was like 16, honestly.
No, yeah, you really have.
I think that's, like we talked about the coastal grandmother, like I am the coastal grandmother. If you're in my circle, I will defend you and take care of you like to the end. That's just, and if somebody else like crosses you, like it also crosses me, which probably like in some circumstances maybe I should be a little less, but it's just how I'm wired. Like I'm very defensive of not necessarily myself really, but the people that I love and care about, which makes me like kind of mama bear energy when it comes to Niall, but
1000%.
Yeah, I can't help it.
Yeah, I am. No, I understand that, because I think I'm the same way. Like I think I get more upset about my friends being screwed over than I do myself. Like I definitely get upset, but it's also like people can say whatever they want about me anymore. Like I just don't even really care. Yeah. But if they say anything about my friends, like I'm gonna get feisty and I'm gonna talk my shit, because that really bothers me and rubs me the wrong way.
Maybe that's the twin thing with the zodiacs that you're talking about. But yeah, because Tauruses are very like stubborn too, right?
Yes, very hard-headed. It'll be interesting to see if like Niall actually like embodies that personality. He may not. He may be very different.
I think there's a difference between like male and female.
Very different.
Yeah. I remember you were very concerned about him being a Gemini, because his due date was very close to being a Gemini.
Grateful. And then my poor other nephew Landon is going to be a Gemini.
Will he for sure be a Gemini? He will. Okay.
Because I mean, Niall's on the cusp. He's like right there. It's like May 20th.
Is it really? Oh wow.
He's right there.
Because he's May 19th.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay.
We're right there on the cusp.
Hopefully, Jared isn't he a Gemini?
Yeah, our friend Jared is a Gemini.
We love him, so maybe
I do get along with Jared. So, but as far as zodiac signs, like I mean, I like to look into it. I think it's kind of fun.
It is fun.
I mean, who knows if it really describes someone's personality? Sometimes I read things, I'm like, man, that really is like me. That makes a lot of sense. Or I'll read something about somebody else, I'm like, yep, that's definitely their personality. And the other things I read, I go, that's not so-and-so. No. Or that's not them.
I think I read something one time when we had like our moon charts up. When we were at dinner sometime, we were all looking at. Do you remember?
We were all looking at.
It's like I remember we were all looking at him. And like we were all looking at our moons, because the moon is like the emotional one. And I felt like for some reason, at least amongst our group, it was very accurate for everyone.
Oh, it was. There's a little zodiac sign talk for you guys.
Yeah.
Some of you are probably thinking, next.
Yeah, you're either into it or you're not.
You're not.
Like,
I bet a lot of people are.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, fast forward.
It's fine. It's all right. I like to talk about it, so it's okay. It's my podcast.
Right.
So you married your high school sweetheart, junior high school sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to brag that I was there at the beginning.
It's true.
So yeah, I basically been with you through every big stage in your life, but you've been with Mr. Ryan since the dawn of time.
15 years?
Several long years.
It'll be 16 years in September.
Wild.
Yeah, September 14th.
That is just so crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is. And you know what's funny about it is like, if you would have told me that back then, I would have been like, you're crazy.
Yeah,
Trust me, I love The Notebook and I love all things romantic energy, but I definitely wasn't betting on like marrying my first boyfriend. Like, I don't know. I just didn't, It wasn't something I was thinking about. It's very easy to love Ryan because he's just such a genuine person. Like he would do absolutely anything for anyone. Mm-hmm. And then if he loves you and you're his friend, or in my case, like his spouse or his girlfriend at the time, like he was just like the best boyfriend and he's the best husband and he's just very easy to love. So it makes it simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's rare, you know, you don't really hear about that. But trying to think of our full story. We have differences on when we first met, because he remembers me from when you and I were together again. We ran track in the sixth grade. In the sixth grade, we ran track, and I think we did it because we wanted to hang out with the junior high kids, because we were still in elementary, and they were like, "Oh, when you're sixth grade, you can run track."
Right.
And it was with the 7th and 8th graders, and we were like, "Heck yeah,
let's go!"
So we did it, and then we were like, "Oh, this means we're running." So
it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. I'm a runner now, so it's kind of hilarious, but. So we ran track, and so Ryan remembers seeing me then, like that year. Like he says like he has a memory of like the first time he saw me, but I don't remember him at all. Well, actually, that's a lie. I do remember him one time. We're on the bus. Another friend and I are sitting in the seat. Ben is in front of us with somebody else. I don't remember, and the windows are down because it's a nice day. We're on our way to meet, and Ben is throwing powder into his mouth. And I remember, like, because the windows were down, like when he threw it, it like went back and like it. Like hit us, so we turned around to see if it hit the people behind us, and the people in the seat behind us were Eric and Ryan. And I remember Ryan was just like looking at me, like he was like
I don't know why am I getting a little emotional.
It was like I remember him like smiling, like I remember like turning around and being like, "Oh my gosh, sorry," like saying something, and Eric being like, "Oh, it's fine," like cool about it, and Ryan just like smiling at me. That is my first memory of Ryan. I didn't think about it till later when he started. I was like, "Gosh, I don't remember," and I was like, "Wait a second. I do remember one encounter." But then tried to make this long. And then,
go for it.
And then fast forward to when we were 7th graders and they were 8th graders.
Yeah.
So Ryan's a year older and Eric and everybody's a year older than us.
I vividly remember this part.
I remember this so well because, everybody at the time got like brand new Nike Shox for the first day of school.
Oh, yep.
And the flare jeans. And do you remember like the baby doll shirts from Hollister, Aeropostale, like the ones that had like the empire waist kind of went out?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a look. Oh,
it was a look. We were serving.
Yes. I can remember my first day of junior high outfit. So I'm going to tell you. It was like blue Nike Shox with like some lime green accents.
Oh my gosh.
The flare jeans, like the jeans that like flare to the bottom, you know. They were like tight here and then flare.
Yeah.
And the blue baby doll shirt from Hollister.
I feel like I remember this outfit.
Okay, I bet you do. And with a hood. It had a hood.
Yes.
Oh, do you remember this?
As soon as you said the baby blue shirt, I was like, it like clicked for me. I was like, oh, I think we took a picture.
I'm sure we did. But why did everything have hoods? That's my question.
Why?
But it had a hood and the tiny little cap sleeves. Do you remember we were not allowed to have sleeves?
Right.
And then a purple like layering cami because we all had comfort layering camis at the time. I still can't really give mine up.
I can't either.
It just like feels right.
Yeah.
Anytime you wear a shirt, you're like, oh, cami first.
1000%.
So anyway, that I remember wearing that and being with you at like our lunch period.
Yeah.
Like it was like after we had lunch, we were like sitting in the commons. That's what they call it. Okay.
This is when we first like got a chance to like
yes, and you were like so seeing everybody. You're like
high school.
We're like, oh my gosh, we're in junior high. We made it. And we were all hanging out, and we thought we were really cool because we knew some of the junior high, like the 8th graders. I keep saying junior high. We were in junior high, but the 8th graders. So we thought we were like really cool. And I remember Eric coming up,
and Avery,
and coming up and saying, they didn't even say who it was. They go, Daley, my friend likes you. And so I remember looking over and you getting like all like, oh my God. And
I was like, what?
Yes. And then looking over and like, there's just a bunch of them. I was like, could you be more specific? Like at the time,
they did like a little skit. They're like, Ryan likes to ski.
Yes.
Ryan likes to play basketball. Like, they did this whole entire thing.
They were trying to.
I vividly remember this.
They like wouldn't say who it was at first. That's what I remember. I was like,
kind of weird. I'm like, huh?
It was weird energy. But you guys have to remember, up to this point, Ryan had said 0 words to me. Like, I had no idea who this person really was. Yeah, he was very shy, which if you know him now, makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
He is an extrovert, social butterfly through and through. But yeah, so I remember after that, and I was, of course, was like, I don't want a boyfriend. Like, I just kind of like was very, chill about it. But then over the course of months, we started like hanging out with them more, like us as being like the chosen 7th graders. It felt like we got to hang out with the 8th graders. And then we started doing like 3-way calls. That's when on the home phone. I'm bringing back the home phone. We did 3-way calls on the home phone.
Yep, I remember this.
And they were the best. And you were part of this. I think you were behind this because we would be talking on.
He recruited me to help him.
Oh, of course. Okay. Because we would talk on the home phone, me and you, constantly for hours. Like, we would
just
sit there.
Yeah. I mean, just like constant.
Just like this, honestly. We would talk for hours, and then you would say things like, we're going to call so-and-so and put them on 3-way call. And it would be, people just randomly, like, people. Yeah, it was like Avery here and there, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it was Ryan. It was like Ryan every time. And Ryan would talk to us for a little bit. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, gotta go. And then
I'd leave them on there together.
And I didn't like think about it at the time. I was like, oh, whatever. But being a chatty 7th grade girl, I would just sit there and talk to Ryan for another hour or so. It was crazy. While you're doing something else, like, paint your nails or whatever. So yeah, we would sit there and talk. And then it just turned into we were constantly talking because Ryan wasn't shy on the phone. Like, he would talk to me on the phone.
Yeah.
And so we would just talk to each other for hours, and we got to know each other more. And I still was like, I don't want a boyfriend. Like, first of all, how do you have a boyfriend? I think I was 12, turning 13. What do you do there? And then finally he asked me at a volleyball game, at a junior high volleyball game, he finally was like, will you be my girlfriend or something like that? Very shy in the Ryan way at the time. And I don't know. I was just like, yeah, like, sure. Because I just really liked him and was really good friends with him. And obviously there was an attraction there as well, but just really liked him. And the last almost 16 years, last 15 years, we've gone a few days without talking. Like, in most of those cases, I've been on travel. Like, I was in Haiti and my phone didn't work, that kind of thing. But yeah, like, I mean, that's pretty significant. In almost 16 years, and you've talked basically every single day. And like I said, Ryan's very easy to be with, and I love him, and I want to be with him every day for the rest of my life. I never want to be with anyone more than I want to be with Ryan.
Yeah.
Like, he's there. I've never met anybody that I'm like, oh, that's better than Ryan. Like, I love him. I want to be with him forever. So that's our story. We've been together. We got married December 30th, 2017. Oh, I will say one more thing about the whole being with your junior high sweetheart is that I'm very proud that I've been with my junior high sweetheart, that I've known him this long. I'm very proud of that. But what I'm more proud about is the fact that we as 2 adults have decided to be together. Like, we make that decision every day to be together. Yeah. And I think that means more. Like, we've evolved. Like, you evolve as humans over time. And we definitely are. Like, we're different than we were when we were 12. Obviously, we're human. But we've still chosen to be together. And I'm very proud of the fact that our marriage works, our relationship works as adults. Yeah. It's kind of separate of the whole history there, if that makes sense. Right. Like, it's a big deal that this works as adults to me. We're married we've been 5 years now. Yeah. Happy.
And now you guys have a little baby.
Yeah. Happy as can be.
Which is just wild to think about. Because, like, again, like what you were saying, earlier, if someone would have asked me if this is what I would have been, I think even at whenever I was, being your best friend, I always thought, man, are they going to make it? Like, all the time you hear about people like going to college and relationships and they don't always make it. Like, is it going to happen? Especially because Ryan was older than you. Right. So you always wonder, is it going to work out? And it is the coolest thing ever to see that it has. Like, it really is, like, wild. And I think, and this is going to sound the most cheesiest ever, but I think the reason why I do believe in soulmates is because of you and Ryan. Ryan, because you guys found each other at such, like, who would have thought you would have met at a small town in Bloomfield, and the rest has been history. So I think it's been super cool from my perspective to see it grow and what it's been, because it's been like, wow, they've really been together for so long. It's like the coolest thing ever.
I think with any long-term relationship, there comes a point where you have to choose, are we going to grow together or grow apart? And there's no right or wrong answer, it just is what it is.
Right.
You kind of reach a point and you're like, okay, if we're going to be together, this is the A, B, and C need to happen, or we're going to go separate ways.
Right.
And there, it can be healthy and happy and that sort of thing. But Ryan and I just always decided when we got to those times in our life, we just decided, no, we're going to make it work. We're going to be together. We're going to make it work. Not that it was hard, but we're gonna make it work. And that's been the key. I would say that is the key. You have to, a long-term relationship is you grow and evolve and you get different interests, which makes it very fun, because I mean, I've been with Ryan this long and I still don't know everything about him. Like,
he's still like changing and growing.
Sure. Like I learn something, I swear every week he tells me something. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't know you're into that, or he gets a new interest.
Yeah.
And so I love that. It never doesn't feel the same or like boring. I've never felt like that. I feel like that's kind of what people assume. Like you just kind of get stuck in this like rut. Oh, you've been together forever. Yeah. But I've never felt like that.
For me, looking at you guys, I look at you guys as a good example, because it's like, that's what I would want.
We're willing to work on anything that ever comes up that we need to work on. Like neither one of us would ever be like, oh, well, it's not worth our time. We're out.
Well, you guys just have like basic respect for each other, and that matters so much. Like even like in the dating world now, I've learned a lot of people don't have respect for other people, and it's so disheartening and frustrating.
Some of the messages that I've seen that you have sent me that people have DM'd you. Oh,
yeah. So
he just needs to look like Chris Evans, or no,
literally, or Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, yeah, that's the new one.
Either one, honestly.
Yeah,
I won't be mad about
Remember we were talking about like our types, and you're like, Joe Burrow, and I was like, what about Kevin Costner?
No, literally. And then we do have one in common. Cillian Murphy.
Oh, I do like Cillian Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very attractive.
Yeah, he is,
like
definitely.
I do like him a lot.
That's a vibe thing, though. Like
he has the it's Peaky Blinders. That's the.
I think is it Tommy Shelby that I was like, is it Cillian Murphy? Or is it? Okay, and here's the other one that threw me off the other day. The dad from The Parent Trap. I think.
Oh no, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
And the dad from Twilight, Charlie.
Yes.
I'm starting to get more attracted to him the older I get.
When you're younger, you're like, oh, it's Edward or Jacob. Yeah. I was always Edward.
Jacob.
But now I watch it and I'm like, oh, what about Charlie? Look at
little Charlie. I love him so
He's
much.
So nice. He's a good dad.
And he's very attractive.
Yeah.
So no, totally I'm with you on the dad from The Parent Trap. I was watching it the other day, actually. That's so weird.
That okay?
I was thinking, man, he looks so good.
Yeah,
he was attractive. Yeah.
It's the dad from The Parent Trap. I think his name's like Dennis something. I remember seeing the name Dennis.
I'm not good with actors.
I'm not either. I don't know anything else he was in.
I know his name was Nicky.
Oh wait, no, that's a lie. He was in a baseball movie. Oh, I love baseball. Gosh, I don't remember what it's called. Ryan will know. He was in some baseball movie, and I remember seeing him in that too, and being like, "Oh, yep, still got it."
I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yes, okay. It was like the early 2000s, late 90s, something around then.
People that probably know what we're talking about are like,
they're like,
it's this.
But his name, I remember because I looked it up one time, and when his name was Dennis, I was like, that doesn't match.
No,
Dennis.
Some of their names, I'm like,
you don't look like a Dennis.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not to. And Adam Wainwright. We agree on Adam.
Oh, we do. We do. But he's an athlete.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See. But he also like plays guitar and sings, and he adopts kids, and he's like nice to his wife. Yeah, I like.
No, that's attractive.
Yeah,
being nice to your wife.
Being nice to your wife.
Yeah, like literally.
What a good guy.
Yeah, we're like over here, like, man, he's nice to his wife.
Yeah, I love a nice guy.
Me too.
For sure.
Me too. He's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and I have a baseball. You know this. I have a baseball that has. He says like happy something wedding. It's like happy wedding. I don't remember. It's something nice that I got as a gift for our wedding. But he knows my name because he wrote my name down. He put Ryan and Daley.
And I bet he thought I'd never heard the name Daley.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sure he's always remembered that.
Yes, I bet he's never wrote the name Daley down again ever since. So at least not that spelling.
I love that. We're gonna move on to the topic of motherhood because you are almost a year-long mother. Mm-hmm. Because Niall Van was born on May 19th.
He was.
You're about to have a 1-year-old, which is just wild to me.
It really is.
So, and if I ever refer to him as my nephew, he is my nephew. I don't care if I'm not blood related, like he is my nephew. So go ahead and walk me through what it was like to transition into the role of being a mom.
Well, perfect example is that we just took a break so that I could pump because we're drinking. I have to pump my breast milk, obviously. The transition, it is like night and day. I mean, it really is. There's nothing in my life is the same that it was before, in like the best ways. But I remember thinking how busy I was then and how much stuff I had to do then. Nothing. I have 3.5 minutes to myself a day now.
So crazy.
But it's totally worth it. It's just a totally different lifestyle. But every day is something so fun because he's at that age, like between, everyone tells me between like, when they're born and age 2, it's like every day they learn something new. Every day they're trying something new or they discover something new. So it's so fun. And like, I look forward to every day, like, what is he doing now? What's he into now? Like, we're super into tractors and anything with wheels, even a lawnmower we're into right now. So, but then even like a week, and probably more than a week, like 2 weeks ago, all he wanted to do was Elmo, everything Elmo. Elmo, little character, Elmo, everything. So it's just fun to get to know him. But the transition was your question. The transition.
No, you're doing good.
The transition was just, gosh, I feel like we should have a trigger warning about if traumatic birth is an issue. So like, if you don't want to hear about a traumatic birth experience or that would be triggering for you in any way, this would be the time to fast forward a little bit. Don't you think?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I just to have that disclaimer, even you just don't want to hear about it, I respect that. So I just want to back up a little bit with how my birth was with Niall, because that transition that story will explain kind of the transition it was for me personally. So Niall was born on May 19th, 2022 at 9:22 a.m. But I actually started to experience contractions the 17th, like that's Morgan's birthday actually, the evening of the 17th. And I didn't know they were contractions. I had called because I was having very intense back pain. I think I've told you all this, of course, but I was having very intense back pain that would like wrap around to kind of like my hips and then like down my thighs, like almost to my knees. It was very strange, but it was having like a wave-like structure that I was told contractions would be like, but it wasn't the tightness that I would feel in the front, because I had asked at one of my prenatal appointments when the doctor's like, what does a contraction feel like? Like, what do I expect? Like, I just kind of need to know. And he actually physically grabbed my bump and was like, it's going to feel like this. And he like kind of squeezed inward, which at the time I was like, doctor just Googling, doctor just squeezed bump. Is everything okay? Like, cause I just had so much anxiety about everything being okay. But he had told me it would feel like that. And I was not experiencing that. So I was just having it in my back. So I called the doctor or the doctor's office, and the nurse told me, oh, it's Braxton Hicks. You're still a week from your due date. Like, it's Braxton Hicks. This is totally normal. Don't worry about it. Try to rest. So she told me, she's like, rest will make it go away. So I go to sleep on May 17th, if you can call it sleep, and I'm just uncomfortable. I keep getting like the back pain, but they're not close together. They're just kind of so fluid. So I was like, oh, well, whatever. But I mean, they were consistent. It's not like they went away ever.
Right.
So then fast forward to May, and I had gone to work that day, and I was experiencing there and was just trying to kind of bear through it. And then,
pause. That is honestly the most badass thing I've ever heard in my life. The fact that you're able to go to work experiencing that amount of pain, women really are phenomenal. Like, just the fact that we can, I mean, I've not been through it personally, but just the fact that so many women have gone through that and the fact that they still show up for work, iconic.
I think that that's just kind of how we're wired. Like, especially me, I wanted to do it all. I didn't want it to see anyone to ever say like I wasn't doing this because I was pregnant, or I wasn't doing, I just wanted to make sure that I was showing up in every aspect of my life that I could. While being pregnant. So anyway, I go to work on the 17th, and I'm just I remember talking to a coworker in the hallway and having to lean on a door frame because I was having and I was trying not to give away that I was having a, contraction.
Right.
But I was like leaning on the doorway, like trying to listen. But again, all my back, concentrated to my back. So May 18th comes, and I didn't go to work that day. I had to call in and say like, hey, I'm just not feeling well. I think I'm just having really bad. I even said Braxton Hicks. I ended up calling in that day. And staying at home, and they were just intense. Like, they were just getting more and more intense.
Right.
Not necessarily in the time, like the timing closer together that they say, but just it would take my breath away. Like, it was keeping me up. I couldn't get comfortable. Everything was just really uncomfortable. So And we had a friend in from town from Florida, so Ryan wanted to go meet him for a beer, and I was like, I can't, like, there's no way I could sit down on like a bench, like I'm barely laying down comfortably. So he went, and when he came back, I just remember being in the kitchen, like talking to him, asking how our friend was, and being in the kitchen, like holding on to the bar, like trying not to like cry almost because it hurt so bad. But still not thinking anything of it. I did call again to the doctor and was like, hey, I'm still kind of having these.
I'm like in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I'm like, this is like kind of intense. And the
Yeah.
nurse on the phone told me her quote was, if it's labor, you'll know it's labor. And I was like, I don't know what that means. She's like, you won't be able.
So your first child.
Yeah,
like,
I was
how
like,
are you supposed to know?
I don't know what that means. And she was like, it'll just be so intense, like you won't be able to do anything. Like you'll be
That's
like,
literally what you were experiencing.
you'll be like screaming. But I have a pretty high pain tolerance, I've been
Yeah.
told. So
You do.
and I have this like, I don't know where it comes from, but I just want to deal with stuff myself. I have a very hard time.
Mhm.
And I think like maybe like unconsciously I was also thinking, oh, if I don't want this, not that I didn't want it to be it, but oh my gosh, this is it. Like in that denial kind of like, no, there's no way.
Well, I'm
like
sure it's scary, like just
Yeah.
like, hyping yourself
Yeah.
up to do that, because it is very hard on your body.
It is.
So,
It is very hard.
especially you. I mean, I know you're getting to that point, but it was,
Yeah. So that paints the picture of like I had been in labor for like at least 1.5 days, like active labor.
insane.
And I mean, and I'll explain why I know it was active labor. So that night of the 18th, I did not sleep at all. Like I tried to lay on my side. I tried to lay like against a like chair kind of in this way with pillows. I tried everything to try to like just get a little bit of sleep or any comfort. I couldn't get comfortable at all. And Ryan tried to go to sleep because I told him, I was like, just, it'll pass. Like, it's fine. Just go to sleep. I still, for some reason, did not think this was it. So at about 4 o'clock in the morning, he comes out to the living room and I'm like leaning and I'm like sitting in a chair like this, leaning forward. And he's like, that's it. We're going to the hospital. Like, we're going to the hospital today. And I remember I was like, no, let's just wait till the office opens at 8 and I'll call and ask if they want to see me. Like, I was just trying to be very casual about it.
Girl.
Thank God that I didn't, because Ryan was like, no, we're going. I mean, I did not think I was in labor so much. I didn't take my hospital bag. I didn't even take my insurance card. I had nothing. Like, I just like was like, they're just going to send us home. Like, what's the point? And granted, they had my stuff on file, but they're going to send us home. And I remember complaining on the way to the hospital. I was like, Ryan, we're going to get like $1,000 ER bill. They're not going to do a thing. They're going to say, this is a waste of time. We should really just stay home. I remember when we left, I even said to Phoenix, oh, Mommy and Daddy will see you in a minute. Like, we'll be right back.
Phoenix is their dog, by the way.
Yes, sorry, Phoenix is our dog. And so we got to the hospital, and I was having them all the way up there. And it's a very real memory to me that Heart of Glass by Blondie was playing on like the radio. I don't know. We didn't have time to like hook up music or anything like that, so it was just playing, and we were both just like laughing about that. We're like, this is so random, because Ryan was like kind of singing along to it, and we joked that that's got to be on the playlist for Niall's first birthday party. Is Heart of Glass. But yeah, so then we got to the hospital, and I'm walking in the door. And I have a really intense one. Like, it was just like you lean over. It does take your breath away. Now looking back, I was like, how did I not know I was in labor? But the like little sweet lady comes running out, like the receptionist lady that's right in the new hospital, comes running out. She's like, oh my gosh. And I remember Ryan saying, I think we're having a baby. Like him saying, she's like, what's wrong? You know? And they wheeled me back, and I'm like leaning like this in the wheelchair the whole way. And by the time I got back, because they have a separate like ER for OB, which I didn't actually know until.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, they have like, you go to the ER, but they're like, oh, if you're OB, you go to this one. So I go to the OB ER, and she's not a doctor, she was like a midwife or nurse practitioner that I'd seen for one of my prenatal appointments. So I recognized her, and I almost cried. Like, I really did. Like, seeing somebody that I knew, I was like, oh,
in a moment,
yeah,
like, where you
I was
feel
like,
very like weak,
because she approached me in my wheelchair. She's like, hey, and I was like, I like almost cried, but I didn't. I was just like, hey, it hurts like really bad, but I don't think it's real. I don't know if I just am not handling this well. So she's like, I was telling her, like, it starts my back and it wraps around my hips and down my thighs. I said, it's not right in the center of the belly, so I know it's not labor. She's like, oh, honey, it's probably labor. So I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
So I went, they took me back to the room, and they do like a check to see how, if you're dilated at all. I was 7 centimeters dilated.
Homeboy about came out.
Yeah. So they're like,
in the car ride.
Yeah, they're like, you have like 10 minutes to decide if you want an epidural or not. But by the time we like went through all of this and got through it, it was around shift change for the hospital, and that's an important thing to point out. So we had a different nurse at the time. We obviously had that midwife. So the anesthesiologist that came up, because then they moved us to the actual delivery room. And again, I'm just exhausted at this point. Like almost 2 days of doing this at home, got myself to 7 centimeters alone. Like I was just so exhausted. I hadn't had any food. Like I was over it, right? My body like ached, like, and my bones ached. So I got up to the delivery room and they sent the anesthesiologist to me. And she's an older lady. She's been there for a while, is what I was told. But this is during shift change. And she pointed out that it was during shift change. Like she was like, oh, I'm about to leave, or it's like right on the, she was making points about it. So they were like trying to rush my epidural because I didn't have that much time to decide. So they gave me the epidural, which was a wild experience. You have to like sit perfectly straight the whole time, and they were, yeah, it was weird. Like,
I was got a little shiver.
Well, she just kept telling me it was curved spine. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do about that. So
oh my gosh,
they gave me the epidural. Ryan was there, all was well, and then they left, and a new nurse came in, and like knew everybody, new staff. They're coming in there, introducing themselves, that kind of thing. Because
that has to be so wild.
It was a strange time, but this is why I say this, because then about 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops, I just started to not feel well. This is after the epidural. I started to just feel really weak, like just like really weak. And then all of a sudden I can remember Ryan like walking around the end of the hospital bed. And I remember saying, I don't feel well, or like something's wrong. I just remember that moment and feeling like tunnel vision. Like it was like getting dark and small. Like I was moving away from everybody. And then the next thing that I remember was I had the oxygen mask on, and they had flipped me over onto all fours, essentially. Sorry, onto all fours, essentially, and we're trying to recover Niall's heart rate because I had a reaction to my epidural. I've been told it's because anesthesiologist A, the first one, did not give me enough fluid before she gave me the epidural because it was most likely rushed because of shift change potentially. I'm not saying that's totally not what this is about, but long story short, I did not have enough fluid to withstand the reaction of the epidural, and so it made my blood pressure just bottom out. So I had a reaction to that, and that my body passing out and my blood pressure dropping made Niall's heart rate just drop, and they actually like lost his heart rate, and they had to like resuscitate's not the right word. They had to shock him to get him awake, essentially, to get his heart, like to make sure they could get a reading again. So they did that. And then all of a sudden, my doctor came in. Ryan does it much better story because he can remember it a little bit more. So he's filled in those cracks for me. But he said that suddenly, 20 plus people come running in, and they're all moving him out of the way. He's completely alone. He says he's asking like a bunch of questions, like what's going on, what's happening, and nobody has time to answer because they're just trying to. And a good thing. It's a good thing. They are trying to take care of Niall. So they get his heart rate back, but it was never normal after that. Like it would be really high, really low, really high, really low. Like they couldn't get to stabilize. And my blood pressure was starting to come up at this point. They were helping me with that. But the doctor finally just called it and said that we need to do an emergency C-section to get him out as quickly as possible. So they told me they were taking a scheduled C-section out of the OR so they could move me in. And again, I have the oxygen mask on still, and everything's kind of blurry. Like I'm very like, even now I get kind of like almost like flashbacks, and I'll ask Brian a question like, did this happen? Because I'll like remember people that I saw during that time, and he'll be like, yeah, like that person was there. And so he fills in the cracks for me still to this day. So they rushed me in to a C-section, and I remember really bright lights, and I remember like Ryan couldn't go with me, and that being like a really big concern for me. Like where is he? But like I remember not being able to vocalize that very well. So, but he came in later because I remember seeing him. He had to get all gowned up and everything. But they take me back, and since I had an epidural, they didn't have to do like the full spinal. They just did like a smaller amount of numbing, I guess you could call it. So, but I had a new anesthesiologist, and I remember liking her. Couldn't tell you what she looks like. I only saw like her eyes because I was laying down. They won't let you move once you have the epidural. So I was like laying down, and she was just kind of hovering above me. And so they helped me get numb. I remember them asking if I could feel anything, and I didn't. So he was out within minutes. Like they rushed it. It was very, very quickly. Got him out. So, and everything was great with him. He was perfectly healthy. It was the biggest blessing of my life. I thank God every day. That everything that went terribly in the beginning, he was perfectly fine. Me, on the other hand, because it was so rushed, the doctors did warn me that my recovery would not be the greatest because they took less care in where they cut, or like how they cut, I guess is again, if you're squeamish at all, this is not the part for you. But where they cut would be more sensitive and probably have a harder time healing. So I knew that going in, I guess, kind of. And they also told me that I had a placental abruption on one side, which I don't know. We don't still to this day don't know when that happened, and it most likely will keep me from ever having a VBAC or a vaginal birth after cesarean in the future. I'll most likely always have to have a C-section with any future children because of that trauma. So after you have a baby, I will say I remember him being born. Like everything is clear, or everything's like not clear, I should say, very fuzzy. But I remember the moment of him being born, like him coming out and greeting the world. It was the most like out of body experience, because you don't feel anything. Like you just feel pressure, like them moving, but you don't feel like any pain, obviously, thank God. But I felt the weight of him coming out like that. To this day, I still joke that I feel like there's going to be a white van pull up and take me away after all these secrets that I've spilled about childbirth, because no woman has ever told me these when I was pregnant. I had to discover all of this. And then when I asked them later, they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. But I will spill the secrets. And it's not painful. It's just it was the most intense experience of my life. Like I seriously felt like my insides were being ripped out. Like it was like, oh my God, I still I can't even form the words to explain what it felt like. But then he cried and everything was wonderful, and they brought him to me, and I feel so bad. I still couldn't really hold him, like, because they have all these like tubes and wires off you. So you're just kind of like leaning over your shoulder at him. And then they sent you to a recovery room after, and you finally get to hold your baby. And Ryan kind of walked around with them, and then they moved us to the final recovery room, and we were there for 4 days. Yeah, 4 days. And that's when all of the postpartum fun started for me. I had struggled with a lot of nerve pain, is how I'll describe it. Very hot, like electric shock pain, like all around my abdomen and like my legs. And part of the healing process is the uterus contracts, but since you have a huge abdominal incision, every time that your uterus is naturally contracting to go down to normal size, it's also like pushing against that incision. Ouch. I found that to be pretty intense, but it's very strange, and we can kind of discuss like maternal health care. Like after you have the baby, like that's it for you. Like they really don't. They watch you, like they do like a check to make sure like everything is going down. You're not like at a risk for hemorrhaging to an extent.
Yeah.
But there's really not a whole lot of care for the woman. I felt like I was surprised, is all I'm saying. And I do think that most of the emphasis should be on the baby. And there was, but I mean, you're in the hospital, they make sure that you're essentially not hemorrhaging, and then they send you home, and then you don't go back to have any checkups for 6 weeks. That's crazy, right?
That is insane.
Doesn't that seem crazy to you?
Especially like after like what you've been through and like the major surgery that you went through, you would think that they'd be a little bit more like worried, or at least a little bit more concerned.
I would think if you had surgery, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I would think if you had a major abdominal surgery like that, you'd almost have more checkups.
Right.
Right? Or like there'd be more.
I would think so.
I mean, they even wouldn't give me, they gave me like pain meds for like a little bit. And then after that, it was like, oh, well, take some Tylenol. I was like what I take for a headache? And
this is not the same.
I felt like I was a crazy person, because I had so much pain that it clouded everything for me. Because no matter what I was trying to do, bonding with my newborn, figuring out breastfeeding, everything was clouded by the fact that I was in some level of constant pain.
Yeah.
For about 12 weeks. I would say 12 weeks is when I finally was like, oh, I can physically walk around my house without having like shooting nerve pain. And that's insane to me.
That is insane.
And I remember calling my doctor at one point, like before the 6-week appointment, and just explaining that, all my symptoms and this is normal. And basically the response I got from the triage nurses was like, when it comes to birth, everything could be considered normal. Like it happens differently for every woman. And then when I met with the doctor at my 6-week appointment, she actually prescribed me physical therapy. And that's when I did physical therapy, and that started to help some of my healing. But she explained it that I had a pretty traumatic C-section because it was so rushed. And so that's why I had so much pain from how quickly they got him out of there. There was less care, is what she was saying. I think the culture around how we treat women in the postpartum period needs to be completely different.
Yeah, I agree.
We treat them like they're supposed to just have their baby, go home,
right back at it.
Have a line of visitors at the door, and go on a run tomorrow. Yeah. Like there's
or they have to lose like all this much weight by this month, or what. I mean, it is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think women maybe do it, like I even thought about, like they kind of do it to themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh,
it's like ingrained in our brains to be like that.
Or we feel like we need to post something like, back at it again. And I was very
like we have something to prove.
Yes, I was very hesitant. I wanted to be sure that this is my body at this stage of my life, and it's going to be different later, or might not, who knows.
Yeah.
But I tried to take less pressure off myself. I was more focused on my healing when it came to my pain, and less about trying to get back to running or fit in my teeny tiny high-waisted pants again. You keep breastfeeding, you'll lose all the weight. I'm like, no, I'm just more worried about establishing a milk supply. Like, I don't care about whether I lose the weight at this point. Yeah, it's just strange.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I've not experienced it personally, so I can't really talk about it like in a first person perspective. But after watching what you have gone through, I've always kind of been on the fence of having children. I will say that right there about did me in. But I will say now, looking at, Niall, like we were just downstairs with Niall, like so worth it.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God.
So worth it, I'm sure. Yes. But I do agree that there needs to be a change and a shift in that. And that even goes with maternal leave. Like that needs to be discussed 1000%. Yeah. I mean, to think that, especially you that went through something so traumatic, were they expecting you to be able to bounce back that quickly? That to me is just so disconnected. I can't even begin to describe my frustration on that. I mean, as someone that's not even really interested in having kids, at least at this point in my life, it still frustrates me on the behalf of like all my friends that are having to go, oh yeah, I only have maternity leave for this long. I'm like, that's it? Yeah, that's literally it.
I lucked out. I got 14 weeks because I got 12 weeks. Basically, it was broken down to like you get 8 weeks of like healing time if you've had a C-section. It's only 6 if you do vaginal. So I got 8 weeks cesarean, and then 6 weeks they call it bonding leave. So I lucked out. I had a great amount of leave for America.
I was going to say, I mean,
it lasted there for America.
Right.
But yeah, no, there's, I mean, as you know, there's not a federal minimum. And I personally know somebody who went back 2 weeks after having their child.
That is
2 weeks.
Insane.
And now I remember at the time.
Could you even imagine?
I can't. I truly can't imagine. Even at 14 weeks, I thought, at 12 weeks, I had a friend of mine who I work with texting me like, hey, like, how you doing? And I almost cried because I was like, I hurt so bad. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And then honestly, something between 12 and 14 weeks, I really did start to feel better. I would say, like, by the time I went back, I was
almost like your mind was preparing you, getting you ready, like your body was.
Right. But I was very self-conscious about how I looked when I went back, because I knew, and I got comments, I knew when I I'm going to call it going back into society, like when I went out.
Practically.
Yeah, when I went out and about again, and I would see people that I know, I knew I didn't look back to what I was. And a lot of it has to do with the C-section. Because I'm back to where I am now. Like,
you look great.
Thanks. I ran 6 miles this morning.
You look great no matter what, though. I've always thought that. No. I've never thought for a second that I was like, oh, she looks kind of bad. Like, anyone that would think that is so shallow.
It would be like it'd be like they were answering a question that I didn't ask. Does that make sense? Like, I'd be like, wait, what?
Or like an opinion you don't even care about. Like, why are you even talking?
Didn't even think about that. The best one is people always say, oh, just keep breastfeeding, you'll lose the weight. That's my favorite one. I'm like, okay.
Like, listen, I'm just trying to keep my child alive.
Like, that's not really
I'm
the
actually trying to
point.
like, establish that first. That'd be great.
Yeah, like that's not really the point of why I'm breastfeeding, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I will say there's nothing more resilient than the woman's body. Like we do it all. We are capable of all. Like
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's wild. So there you have that in you. Like I had to keep reminding myself, like, built for this. Like I can do this. Like it's going to be hard, and I had a really hard start to this, but I can work through this. And like I said, I ran 6 miles this morning. I'm running. It's just a mini. I can't do a marathon yet because of the whole breastfeeding thing. But
hey, a mini's great.
I'm running a mini in Minnesota this year, and that's been a goal of mine. Like I was like, I'm going to get back to it, and I'm lifting again. And that's not really a weight thing, because I'm trying not to make it that.
It's more just doing things for yourself and getting back to
it's getting back to who I was.
Your own goals, your own personal goals.
I like to run. I like to work out.
Yeah.
And, so I'm getting back into that. But yeah,
I feel like that's something that I'm really proud about. Kind of like what you were saying earlier, like you feel like a white man's gonna come grab you. I'm proud of you for continuing to talk about it, even if it's something that's not pretty to talk about. It's not necessarily like a good conversation to bring up, but it's necessary, because I bet, and I don't want to speak for anybody, I bet a lot of women that have had children have probably experienced that to some extent, especially back in the day when it was even worse.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm like thinking in my head how many times women have had to experience, but they just been told, oh, just grin and bear it. Every woman goes through it.
Absolutely.
And it's that's not okay though. That doesn't mean that it's right.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I talk about it, one, because I'm kind of an open book, but also because I'm looking around like, have you guys experienced this? Like, am I crazy? Like, I felt like afterward, I was just reaching out to anyone who had ever had a baby, because it was blowing my mind that people did this more than once. I definitely, I do want to have one more.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
But I need to heal. I guess I do. Ryan's always
selfishly.
Like, Ryan's like, I don't know, Daley. But yeah, I would like to have one more. I just need to process a little bit more about what happened to me, because I think that I'm still actively mourning the loss of having an easy birth, or having like a birth experience that has less intervention.
Right.
Because that's, to me, that's a loss to me, that no matter what, most likely going forward, I'm going to have a significant amount of intervention, and therefore a significant amount of pain in my recovery process. And just losing that ability to, like, oh, the butterflies of, oh, I'm going into labor, and he's here, push, push, push. He's, that natural, because I'm kind of a crunchy person. I was showing Morgan my sourdough bread starter downstairs.
I love it.
Yeah, I have like crunchy tendencies. So that loss of having any sort of natural I'm grieving for it.
Sure.
So I think I need to process that more before I go through it again, because otherwise it's going to be a miserable pregnancy, because I will just be so anxious.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you for recognizing that. It's good that you can recognize that you need to put in the work and get mentally ready for it again, because I saw how hard it was on you. Yeah. And I can I can't even imagine. Just one more.
So fast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Even from an outsider perspective, it's gone so fast.
He's the greatest blessing of my life.
Literally became like a little teenager before my very eyes.
I know. He's just so funny.
He's not even 1, but he's practically 14 in my eyes.
He's got the funniest little personality.
He does. So sweet. He's so sweet. Okay, we're gonna move on from the topic. Oh, okay. But I'm glad that you talked about it.
Yeah, got that out. Therapy check.
My first mom on the podcast.
Yeah, it's true.
There we go. So we're gonna move into a topic that you and I were talking about briefly before we even started this thing.
Oh gosh.
Today. So when you and I were younger, I feel like, and this is very common for most kids, you want to grow up and be an adult. You're like, I'm so excited to like start my life. Like I want to do this, this, and this. I'm going to be married by this age. I'm going to have kids by this age. I'm going to drive this car. I'm going to work at this job. You have like the entire fantasy life in your mind. And so now that we're adults, we could talk about how different our life is than what we had originally envisioned.
Oh God. You want to go first?
Sure. So mine's be the funniest, because I thought I was going to have children by 24.
Wow.
And I'm now almost 28.
You were 22 when you graduated college. Oh, yeah, because you were, wow.
And it's been crazy to think about how my life has, I mean, granted, I've been through some things, but it's like, you kind of think, wow, my life is not nearly what I would have ever expected it to be.
Well, also the age 30 sounded ancient to us.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I'm
like
almost
30.
there. Oh my gosh. And like, I'm still single. So it's like, for me, I've had to really come to terms with that. Like, okay, you don't get to be the young mom. You don't get to do that. You're going to be an older mom if you decide to ever have kids, because I'm not just going to have kids right away. Whenever I meet somebody, I kind of want to, develop and make sure it's a steady relationship. And so, yeah, my life is not nearly what I thought it would be. Never thought I'd be working in an accounting firm. Never thought I'd be doing something like this. Never, I mean, you just never thought that. I thought I was going to be a lawyer living in the city. I mean, I do live in a city, but I thought I was living in New York City. Like, I thought I was going to be in the city.
The city.
And I don't know if I'd ever leave Indiana now, because I'm going to have nephews. Like, I don't want to leave them. Like, that's, sorry to you guys. I would leave if it was just you. But I mean, now that I have them, it's like thinking, oh, I'll miss out on them growing up if I move away. And I'm like, is that something I'm ready for? Is that something I want to do? Like, am I being mentally okay with missing out on some things? And so I think for me, I don't know if I could ever move out of the state, but which is just crazy to think about, because I thought I would never stay in Indiana. Never thought it.
Yeah, I think that, I don't even know where to start with mine, to be honest. If you would have asked me, it depends on what age you asked me.
Yeah.
Like if you would have asked me when I was like 12 or something, I would have said, oh, I'm going to move to Reykjavik, Iceland, and be a journalist doing what, I don't know. In fact, I thought that I was going to like invade like different, what was the one that I was going to do? Oh, I wanted to invade a child soldier camp in South Africa and like help everybody there, because I saw a documentary about it. But I wanted to do some sort of international journalism.
I remember.
And I was going to live in Iceland because I loved Iceland. So if you would ask me that when I was 12, but then fast forward to like, I don't know, college, I thought Ryan and I would probably move away there for a while. But still, when I was in college, I knew I was going to do something in science.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought we were going to move away for sure. Then we ended up staying. It depends on when you would have asked me. Definitely not what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Not that's a bad thing. It just,
right.
I remember the way Ryan and I talked about it one time was that if we lived somewhere else, we would always have to spend our vacations coming back here and seeing family.
That was a really good point that he made, that it kind of stuck with me too, because I was thinking, he's got a point.
Because you would feel guilty. At least I would feel guilty
not taking
almost.
That time to spend time with family and like see friends and stuff.
Because everyone, at least if you're with a partner that is from the same area as you, like, you're gonna have to come back here. Oh my gosh, it'd be even worse if you
or different spots. Like what if Christmas is you had to fly one way and then fly the other way and then go back home?
You would just spend all your time living far away or having to go to your hometowns essentially instead of actually traveling. Because I mean, we have careers where we have limited PTO, so I think it worked out much better to just kind of stay near family.
And you guys get to travel too, which is beautiful. Like you actually get to see the world.
Definitely,
really cool.
Which we're gonna do more of now that
you got the baby and everything, and he's growing up now a little bit. So
we can take him with us.
It's crazy though, because I think whenever we were very young, you and I both, I think every young girl went through this obsession with dolphins.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Yeah.
We were going to be dolphin trainers. And now we're best friends with one.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
He's living out our dream.
I don't even know if he knows that, how obsessed we are.
I don't know if he does either. I don't even know. Yeah, just like his profession in general. Like it is my biggest flex to say I'm friends with a dolphin trainer.
I totally, like, my mom brain is like really hitting hard. I totally forgot that was going to be what I was going to do. And I was going to
we used to like dolphin everything.
Yes. We were going to like say, and we were going to save the world. Like we were going to save. That was my point about like being the international journalist. I wanted to save everything.
Right.
If I'd see a documentary on something or read an article that I was like, oh, that's going to be me. I'm going to help. I'm going to go.
We went through a phase where we were like writing songs like Allie and AJ.
Oh yes, Allie and AJ. Okay, Allie and AJ are still so cool.
They are the coolest ever. I love them forever. Like they will always be like one of my originals. Like and like when they remade the one song, what's it called? Everyone's be mad at me for not knowing what it's
potential breakup song.
Yes, and they added like cuss words. I'm like, I was waiting for this.
Yeah, you're like
there's some parts you want to do, and I'm like, that's what I
That's
wanted to
it.
say. But I was a kid, so I couldn't say that, you know?
It's like when Taylor
That's so
Swift
funny.
finally started including the words that she wanted to say,
Yeah.
but she didn't
Right.
say. You're like,
It's
oh,
all right. You're not going to
she's
be poofed. I
yeah,
mean, it's okay.
I mean, I'm sure some people, but like, she's an adult now.
Right. Like,
There's a
she's
moment.
allowed to say if
It
she
was a
wants to. It's her
moment.
music. But
Which
yeah,
we're going to the Taylor Swift concert.
we are. I'm so
We're so excited.
Okay, I have to talk about this real quick.
Oh God.
So I went through a phase where growing up, so like in 7th grade, all of my friends were obsessed with Taylor Swift. And I liked her too when I was younger. You, Nikki, Tori, everyone was obsessed with her.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I like her. Yeah, she's really good. And then she went from country to pop.
Mhm.
And I didn't really like country music that much. I don't even know why I got upset about it.
Not at the time you didn't. I feel like you like it more now.
Yeah, I do now. I was like, no, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. And then, like a couple years ago, I started to transition back into like I go, actually, I kind of like this music, and now I'd consider myself a Swiftie.
Yes, finally. So Taylor Swift for me is that all of her, I know eras is being a little overused now, but all of her eras they mean something to me.
Yeah.
Like I can remember her
kinda
debut
grew
album.
up with her, yeah.
Yes, like I can remember her debut album, like Tim McGraw and Teardrops on My Guitar. Like that sounds like being in my childhood room and listening to it and like doing the 3-way calls with Morgan and Ryan and writing, you know, Ryan O'Neal on my notebook. I like that's what that era sounds like to me when I hear it. It still takes me back. And then, you know, Speak Now sounds like high school to me. It brings up a lot of memories.
Yeah, Speak Now really reminds me of
Red is like senior year of high school, going into college, like a lot of those songs. And then of course when you heard All Too Well the first time, like you know where you were when that song came out. Oh my God. And so
that was a great song.
Great song. And yeah, and like, you know, 1989 was like fun, college, like very like light. Reputation was like Reputation honestly sounds like my wedding, which sounds strange, but like New Year's Day and like King of My Heart, that came out. Yeah, you guys know I'm a Swiftie. That came out, I think in August, September, it sounds right, of 2017, and I got married in December. So a lot of those songs, I was listening to that going into my wedding a lot, and so that it takes me back every time I hear it, especially New Year's Day hits me because we got married on December 30th, so it was very close to New Year's Day. And then what am I missing? Oh, and of course all like the Folklore, Evermore.
Yeah, those are good.
That's like
when I started to like her again.
That's like my vibe. Like that whole aesthetic. That's very, very much my vibe.
Every time I listen to Cardigan, I think of you. I don't know why. Because like, this is like
I love a cardigan. Yeah. I've been wearing cardigans way before they were cool.
Yep.
Definitely.
Really have
yeah, I'm like I am grandma energy for sure. And then and I really like Midnights. And I almost the first time I listened to Midnights, I paused on it. Like,
it's so good.
It's so good. And I remember pausing on it and thinking like, well, this is different. I wasn't really expecting, this wasn't what I was expecting from her. And I had to like really soak it in. Oh, I miss Lover. I like Lover too.
I love Lover's so good.
Yeah, it's very like I like London Boy. It's fun. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to like Midnights nearly as much as I do now. Because that's what I'm going as for our Eras tour. I'm doing Midnights. It kind of gives me like a Stevie Nicks, like that.
Yeah.
It gives me like a Stevie Nicks kind of like.
That's how I would describe it too.
Yeah, 1970s night feeling to it.
Oh my gosh, I listen to Lavender Haze at least once a day.
It's very good.
At least.
I really like.
Another one of my favorites.
You're on Your Own, Kid.
The last question I have, since we were talking about like, you know, being young and like what we thought we'd be as adults, we kind of went off on a tangent, but that's fine. That's fine.
We knew this would happen.
We knew it was going to
happen. I can't believe I totally forgot the dolphin training.
I know. It's all right.
I knew I was like, what was it that I wanted to do when I was little?
Dolphin training, for sure. That was so good. What is something that you would tell yourself as a child?
As a child?
Like, let's say you're talking to your younger self. Like, what is something you would have told yourself knowing what you know now?
How old would I be when I told myself that?
Don't think about it too much. Maybe just maybe like,
you know me, I'm overanalyzing.
I know. Okay, so let's just take if you were like 12. Let's just say if you were 12. You're in your preteen era.
Okay. I would say trust the nice guy. I would definitely say that.
Oh my gosh, that's really cute.
Trust the nice guy. The nice guy should always win. And I would say just try to be less focused on the next step of everything. Like I felt like even now I have to really like pause and remind myself to be present because I have this internal drive to like, you know, oh, I did this. Okay, now what's the next thing? Just really soak it in. You're 12, soak in junior high. I know that sounds weird, but soak it in. Soak in high school for what it is. Soak in college. Soak in just everything. Soak in like times with your friends. Like everything, because you never know.
It's so fleeting.
It is. It's so fleeting, and we all evolve and change as humans. So who you are and who your friends are in whatever moment you're in isn't necessarily what it's going to be like in the future,
right? So
at a later date. So enjoy it. So just be more present. I try to do that now, because I'm still learning to do that.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm like, okay, what's next? What do I need to do next? What do I need? Where am I going? Is everyone okay? I find myself not being present. Trying to work on that.
That's really good advice.
That's what I would tell myself.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, thanks.
That's good. That's good.
What would you what would you tell yourself?
I think I would have told myself, and this is something I'm still working on as an adult, not everyone has to like you, and that's okay. You don't have to change or adjust or adapt depending on who you're with to make them like you. Like, your real people will like you no matter how you are.
That's perfect advice.
Because as someone who was in high school, I think I did that, unfortunately. And I look back and I think I really cringe at myself a lot. I'm trying to give myself grace the older I get. I'm like, everyone's gone through it. Everyone was awkward. You said some dumb stuff. It's okay. But I think for me, I really tried to, I wanted to be liked by everyone so badly. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be liked. I'm older now. I'm like, I'm actually kind of a weirdo, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm a weirdo, and people are so fixated. Not like creepy weird, but I'm a weirdo.
People are so fixated on what they are doing themselves. They're not really focused on what you're doing.
Exactly. And if they are, they really need to get a life.
Right. Like, if you're not,
in the most respectful way possible, but it's like, truly, like, you need to get your own life if you're going to be worried about what I'm doing.
No one's sitting there and really thinking about what other people are doing. Like, they're so focused on what they're doing. I've found that. And also, I would say, in that same vein, just like, everyone's not your cup of tea. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
And that's
okay.
Okay. We're moving on to rapid fire.
Oh God, I'm so nervous. I'm not good at rapid fire because I overanalyze. I overthink.
You do, but you got to be quick.
Okay, I'll try.
We'll see if you're going to be the first guest to make it quick. No pressure.
I don't see this going well, but okay.
Okay. Would you rather go hiking or rock climbing?
Hiking.
Okay.
That was quick.
Cillian Murphy or Benedict Cumberbatch?
Cillian Murphy.
Okay.
Irish.
Little Blue Truck or I Love You This Much?
Little Blue Truck. Smile Van's favorite.
I was going to say, those are children's books. I had to throw that in there.
It's his favorite, so it brings me so much joy.
Yes. Outlander or Peaky Blinders?
Outlander. That was hard. Woo, Outlander.
I could tell that you had an internal struggle. And I had to change this one last second because you already answered earlier, saying that you didn't like red wine as much, because I was going to ask her bourbon or red wine. I was going to say bourbon. Right. So for Taylor Swift albums, would you go with 1989 or Reputation?
Reputation.
Good.
It has more depth.
Yeah.
Than 1989. But I Love You, 1989. And Taylor Swift always.
There we go. Okay. Well, that wraps it up. I know this was probably a long one, but I don't really care because she deserved a long one. So if you guys would, please be sure to like and subscribe. And I want to thank you for coming on.
For having me.
Super fun. It just felt like we were just chit-chatting the entire time with just a giant light and a camera on. But
we got to use our copper mugs.
We did. It was super good. So be sure to make yourself a little Moscow Mule, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.